7 points. That is all the Celtics could muster in the final 12 minutes as the Sixers snatched Game 5 and saved their season. How does an elite offense go 13% from the field with the series on the line? Was this a masterpiece in defensive grit from Philly, or a historic act of self-destruction by Boston? It all started out early in the fourth with this stack formation, but quickly went to zoom, where they wanted to set a pin down for Jaylen Brown out of the corner into a handoff out top. Unclear why Shireman completely backs up like this, but it allowed Paul George to maintain contact and deny the pass. Great pressure by George frustrates Brown, who clears him off his feet with the off arm for a very obvious offensive foul. Next, they run a quick hitter for Peyton Pritchard out top, with Shireman slow to clear to the corner. Embiid drops to contain while Grimes recovers well, and this flows into a flipped rescreen. Embiid desperately tries to lure Pritchard into pulling for a mid-range shot, but Pritchard won't take the bait. After crashing down, George does a great job to get back in position to thwart a pass to Brown, leaving Shireman to find an opening along the baseline. Queta makes a mistake by cutting up and into the path of the drive. He needs to stay low on the right block to force Embiid to guard 2 players. Scared of traveling on this pickup and faked out by his own man who doesn't complete the backdoor cut, it becomes a bad turnover. Next, they ran Spain pick and roll where Derek White backscreens Embiid, who's guarding the ball screener. The Sixers play this perfectly. Embiid sticks to Queta and the other two simply switch. On the reset, they have 10 seconds to get into something else, but Brown is trying to ISO on one of the best defenders around. Brown tries to gallop into a left-right fadeaway over a decent contest and shows why it's a low percentage shot. Out of this horn set, it looks like they want to run Brown off the screen, but Paul George is glued to him, so he just pops out to receive the ball. PG simply refuses to be screened, with Joel shadowing to stop the drive in its tracks with another off-arm push that doesn't get called despite the protestations from the Sixers bench. PG lands on this jump an instant before the contact occurs, meaning he's in legal guarding position and the contact is legal, helping the short jumper to miss. Here's another ball screen where the Sixers defender refuses to give up the advantage, so Tatum reverses it for zoom action as White comes off a pin down into a handoff. Grimes is allowed to hold White with both hands, and Embiid steps out to force White higher and give Grimes a chance to recover. Now they're left with a high pick and roll against a set defense with less than 10 seconds in the shot clock. Embiid does a good job to drop yet stay in the passing lane to Queta as the roller, and Grimes chases into a contest that forces another miss. The Celtics would be wise to attack someone else besides Embiid in the pick and roll, as Edgecombe fights underneath and Tatum gives up the ball. Rather than explore the opening further, Tatum hook passes back to Hauser and they find Brown semi-open in the corner. Inexplicably, he hesitates, allowing PG to tightly contest this one into a miss. At this point, the Celtics have scored 3 points in 4+ minutes and absolutely need a bucket. Brown decides to explore on his own, and this is interesting. His right foot pivot is established outside the lane, but then he slides it into the lane, no travel call, and then spends over 4 seconds in there with no 3-second call either. Credit to Boston for getting the ball moving against great pressure to find an opening, and this high post split has automatics. If a non-shooter is in this position and a shooter enters the ball to the high post, then the non-shooter automatically sets the screen. Embiid is slow to get out there and they get a good look. The Celtics ranked 7th in 3-point percentage in the regular season, but simply couldn't get on track all night. Brown commits a lane violation as he steps into the lane before Queta releases the ball and allows him to get across the lane for the offensive rebound. Great recovery by Edgecombe to offer a close contest on the pull-up from Hauser, but when 2 Philly defenders battle for the rebound, which happens from time to time, it would have been best if Edgecombe realized that Grimes was on his way to the ball and he'd have gotten to the corner more quickly, but the open shot doesn't fall. If Boston continues to struggle like this, it's not hard to imagine their stars turning in lower than expected point totals, and that's where PrizePicks comes in. They're now a preferred partner of the NBA. Not only can you win cash by picking higher or lower on a variety of box score categories, now that the playoffs are heating up, they've got a Do It Live 2026 NBA Finals sweepstakes. Pick live squares during the NBA playoffs, and you can win a trip for 2 to the NBA Finals. To enter, you just make a $5 lineup with at least one live NBA player pick during any part of the 2026 NBA playoffs. Live player picks are picks made after a game is already in progress. My favorite thing to do is flex play, where I don't even have to nail all my picks to win. These are my 3 picks for tonight's games, and if I make it a flex play, I don't even have to nail all of them to win money. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, a preferred partner of the NBA. Here's another high post split, and since both these guys are shooters, one of them has to be willing to screen, which Tatum does as a player. There was an opening, but Keita isn't willing to pass it, opting for a safer handoff option. Lots of holding by the defense here before Tatum shucks him off, gets the wide open look, but slams it 2 feet wide off the backboard. Oftentimes, zipper cutting a player to the top is a safe way to reverse the ball, but other times, the defense is in a foot race for potential pick 6. Now they're in danger of the shot clock expiring as Brown is clearly struggling against the excellent pressure by Grimes. With only 5 seconds to go, they shape up for an ISO out top, and Brown simply cannot get by his man and has to burp up this bad shot. More high post action from the Celtics, and setting a back screen with a shooter is a great idea since Hauser's man will be reluctant to leave him even an inch, which also means that if he can set a decent screen, Tatum will be open for the good pass from Keita. However, Tatum bobbles the catch, which throws off the entire rhythm of the one-footed shot and allows Edgecombe to erase it off the backboard. Now things are serious. They're down 10 in a low-scoring game and time running out. I cannot believe they opted for a cleared-out ISO on top against Paul George. I would think Maxey would be a better target, or the rookie Edgecombe, but instead Brown can't get into the lane and has to resort to this hanging, poor rhythm long 2 that almost goes in but ultimately yields them nothing. They bring in Pritchard for some more offense out of the sideline out of bounds play, and it flows into spread inside ball screen to his left. Grimes does a good job to cut him off and contest, and Pritchard knew right away that he shot it long as he pulls away from his follow-through in another empty trip. Desperate to score, they turn to the Paul Pierce isolation to nail for Tatum. This is the attack on Maxey I was talking about, since he's giving up 6 inches. There's a lot of jostling arms here as Maxey is pretty much in the direct path of Tatum, but this also seems like playoff rules for not calling fouls. It looks like Maxey's left arm is holding Tatum's arm down so he can't gather it, but instead the ref deems the ball out of bounds for an unfortunate turnover. On the scramble back to defense, Embiid is forced to pick up Brown, who does a great job to get right by him and 2 feet in the paint. Rather than break into a pattern, Tatum sees an opening, with Embiid properly rotating over as the lowest man. Grimes is supposed to help the helper. They get Edgecombe as well, but neither gets a hand up. Lucky that the shot misses, and the Sixers are then forced to foul Tatum on the putback, but they get rewarded when Tatum blows both free throws, which leads Coach Mazzulla to believe there's no coming back from this, as he quickly waved the white flag and let the end of the bench finish this game. What the Celtics need to be very concerned with was how bad they were in clutch minutes this season. Now that Tatum is back, these numbers might change drastically, like they were the last time Tatum played a full healthy season. But there hasn't been a lot of time to integrate him back into the fold, and trying to regain that chemistry in the middle of a playoff battle is hard. So I think they better take care of business in Game 6 and not run the risk of one of these 3 going off in a Game 7 and propelling the Sixers to a series victory.